Well, hello. I'm back in the shop again. I'm going to try and use a new video editing program. The one I've been using, the one that comes with GoPro, and it's a mess. Got to convert all the files. So I'm trying a new one. Apparently it's easier, but like anything else, it's got a learning curve. So we'll see how it works out. Still got parts of it to learn, so the first video, might be lacking a little bit here and there, but I'm going to keep working on it. We'll see how it goes. It's got noise reduction in it, so I got both air conditioners on right now. I got the fan off. We'll see just how good the noise reduction works. Now it's not going to reduce the noise for the fan, so I got it off. But I left the air conditioners on. We'll see. Now I'm wanting to make a turning with a 9-inch base. Sides come out to about 10-inch. And not too tall the sides. Making an open segment. I drew out a pattern right here. I'll get a still shot of it. Not a very complicated pattern. I'm going to use 24 segments again for a ring. Got the profile drawn out with the segments in, like I always do. But what I want to do, make the base, floating base, make the base piece, and then for the cap piece, I want to make a dot-to-dot trim ring. The dot-to-dot trim ring, I'm going to use Peruvian walnut and probably maple for the dots. I'm going to use for the segments all the leftovers I got from the last project. I'm going to make the dark parts here from a Cody. I'm going to use silkwood for the inside diamond. Then for the small diamond inside that, I'm going to use Purple Heart. Probably maple right in the center. I'm going to use maple for these. And I got some for these dots here. Maybe I'll put that same thing in there. I got some Uncle Al's. It's pretty nice color. I think I'll use. And for the base, I'm going to use Anglum. Couldn't remember what it was for a second. I guess I'm getting old. Anglum for the base, probably for the top too. So I will get some still pictures of that. And the first thing I'm going to have to do is make a base. I don't know what I'm going to use for the floating bottom. I think a piece of this might be good. I don't know what this is. This is mystery wood, but it's got some nice figure in it. I think I might cut some of that for the floating bottom. So, first thing I got to do is make a ring for the bottom. I've got the Anglum ring made, 24 segments. I had to turn it flat on one side. I turned it flat on both sides. I have to put it in a big coal jaws, 9-inch, bigger. Too big for the small coal jaws, so I got it in the coal jaws. Had to get a bigger faceplate for it. The other one's too small. I'm going to use this one. This one here pretty hefty. I'm going to glue the brown paper on it. Now this is the heavy brown paper like you get the big bags in a grocery store, or used to. Still can get them some places. I'm going to glue it on here. I'm going to put glue on the ring and bring it up So it'll be glued on with brown paper. Then I'm going to let it dry for a while. While it's drying, I'm going to start making the dot-to-dot rings. Okay, I turned the bottom round on the inside, round on the outside. Cut a rabbit in it, 1/4 inch deep, a little bit wider than a 1/4 inch. I got to make a floating bottom to fit in it now. The diameter of the rabbit is 7 7/8 of an inch. I want to use this mystery wood for the floating bottom. That means I'm going to have to cut off a piece off the end, a little bit bigger than 8 inches. Oh, I got a bad spot there. I don't know which end to cut it. Both ends have got bad spots. A little bit bigger than 8 inches. Run the edge across the joiner, get a good edge for gluing. Then split it on the bandsaw, glue it together, then sand it down 1/4 inch. So I'm going to work on making the bottom piece for it. Cut this off, split it, glue it together. I've got the piece for the floating bottom cut. I said it was mystery wood. When I cut it, it looks like red heart. Just might be red heart. Anyway, I've got it cut round. No, it's not perfectly round. Don't have to be. As long as it's round enough so that it's covered all the way. Once it's in a rabbit, you can't see it. I cut it down so there's a gap on both sides all the way around. And I said it's a floating bottom. It's a semi-floating bottom. It's glued here and here. The grain runs this way. With humidity, it moves this way. It don't move this way. So there's a spot of glue here and here. I made it thin enough so they're just slightly thinner than a rabbit, very slightly. If it's too thick, your cap piece won't fit on. So I'm going to put some finish on it and it'll be good to go, and I'll glue it in. Now, the trim ring, I'm going to make a dot-to-dot trim ring. I'm going to use 3 rings. The top ring and the bottom ring, both going to be just solid Peruvian walnut. The middle ring will be the one with a dot in it. Now the bottom ring is also going to be the cap ring to hold the floating bottom in. So I'm going to make it real thick. Real thick. Way too thick, actually. But that's okay. It's just I can cut it down enough so it'll fit. And the middle ring itself is going to be Peruvian walnut and then small pieces of either maple or holly. I ain't decided which yet. So actually it'll be a segment with a space, a segment with a space, segment with a space. But I'm going to show that when I'm making it. So right now, we'll finish on this and glue it in. The 3 rings for the trim rings, I'm going to have the bottom ring, the middle ring. Middle ring's going to have light colored pieces between the segments, which I haven't made yet. Made the bottom ring, which is also the cap ring, it's that wide ring. I cut it down to size. I sanded it down to 0.19 inches thick, glued it on. This is the top ring. It too will have to be sanded down to 0.19 inches thick. I still have to make the middle ring, which again is going to be 0.19 inches thick, but it's going to have the spacers in it. So I'm going to do that next. I got the bottom ring, which is also the cap ring for the floating bottom. I got a still picture of it before I glued it on. I got it glued on now, and it's getting hot in here, so I'm going to let it sit for a day. I turned the air conditioners off so I could talk on camera. Last video I made, I had a couple of noisy clips. So it's going to have to be quick because it is awful hot in here. So now I need to make the middle ring for the dot-to-dot trim rings. I cut 24 pieces of holly . 0.192 thick. That's as close as I could get it to 0.190. It's close enough. I had that many test pieces to get it that close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 test pieces just to get it that close. But I got it to 192. Now, I want a 9 1/4 inch ring. 9 1/4 inch ring calls for a cut length of 0.8524. So if I cut the segments to 0.8524 and put these spacers between them, then I'm going to get a bigger ring. So what I do is subtract 192 from it. Subtracting 192 from it, I get 0.6604. So I'm cutting them to 0.66. Then I'm going to glue them together in a ring with spacers between the segments. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the air conditioners back on and start gluing these up. Somebody, I'm not going to say who, looked at the number for an open segment ring, subtracted 0.19 from it, cut segments, and made a ring, instead of looking at the number for a closed segment ring. So he made a nice ring. It's only 7 inches in diameter. Ain't no good for this turning. Ain't no good for this turning. So what he had to do was cut more material, and we'll make another ring. It's so hot in here, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I got the material cut. Got a nice 7 inch ring. Looks nice. Perfect. Just not big enough, that's all. I got the air conditioner off again so I can talk. Funny thing, when you start with the right numbers, you end up with the right size ring. Isn't that odd? So I got a 9 1/4 inch ring this time. Right on time. I turned it down thin, sanded it down, so the dots look just right to me. They might be just a little bit taller than they are wide, but that's okay. That's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. Bottom ring's on, which is also the cap ring. So I'm going to glue this ring on now. I got the air conditioners off again, so I can talk. I hate that, but it's what I got to do. The dot-to-dot rings are complete. I'll get a still picture so you can see what they look like. They look real nice. Now to make them, you can make them any size you want. I made them 0.19. I like to make the dots the same width and height, but you can make them longer, you can make them taller. You can make the pieces on the top and bottom different size. It's all up to you how you want them. I made these 24. The open segments are going to be 24 segments, so that'll match up. I got to be careful to place the open segments either over the top of them or right in between them for the first row. I mean exactly. Otherwise, the aisle, I won't see it right. It'll look bad. So I got to be careful where I put the first open segment row. I got to adjust the index wheel to get it right. I could have used 48 and it still would have looked right. Could have used 12. Of course, that wouldn't look near as good. 48 would look super, but I can't use numbers like 16 or 32. That just don't line up right. They don't match up with the segments right. So I'm ready to put on the first row of segments. Now it's going to be curved a little bit, not much. So the first row of segments I'm going to put on, I actually measured it. The measure's 9 1/4 after I turned the edge. About 9 1/2 inch would be good for the first one. And now for the pattern, I got some different woods and what I started with. For the dark woods here, I'm going to use Makoti. That's the dark woods. It makes a big X. For the orange wood, the ones I got colored in orange inside, I'm going to use Silkwood. It's a little yellowish, not as good as yellow heart, but what can you do? For the white ones here I got in white, I'm going to use some good sycamore I got. Really nice sycamore. Of course, for the purple ones, I'm going to use Purple Heart. And then for the dark spots I found a piece of Macassar Ebony is just right. It's going to make them. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to cut the segments. I said I'm going to make them 9 1/2 for the first ring. Let me get my cheat sheet out here. Cheat sheet for 24 segments. 9 1/2 open segments going to be cut 0.875, 0.88. Cut angle of 5.25. Of course, I got that marked on my sled. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up 24 segments for the first ring. I got 24 segments cut. Got them lined up the way they're going to be glued on, following the pattern, of course. I've got the index wheel set, adjusted, so the first segment's going to be right between the dots, right exactly between the dots, so the whole row will be between dots. I'm using a 48 index. One's marked, one unmarked, one marked, one unmarked. I'm using the marked indexes for the first row. So I'm going to go ahead and glue a couple on, and then I'll turn the air conditioners back on and glue all the rest on. Okay, first row going on. I'm using quick and thick naturally, so it'll only take 5 seconds to glue them on. Light layer of glue, very light layer of glue. Hold it for 5 seconds. Go on to the next marked index. Next one going on is sycamore. First one was Bacote. Sycamore. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue all the rest on. I got to turn the air conditioner back on. I got the second row cut and lined up. Second row is going to be 9 3/4 inches, which has a cut length of 0.898. And this row, of course, the pattern changes a little bit. It's Bacote, Silkwood, Bacote, Sycamore, and Sycamore. Now it's been 15 minutes since I glued the other knob making these. So I got those chalked and I'm ready to sand them. I'm going to get a video of sanding them. Okay, it's been 15 minutes and I'm going to go ahead sand these. I got them all chalked already. Got to sand them flat. Normally I'd have the dust collector going, but wouldn't be able to hear myself talk then. Uh-oh. A couple of these still have chalk on them. Gotta sand them a little more. Even though they're all cut to the same thickness, all through the drum sander, they don't always come out the same. I think I'm going to hit it just a little bit more. That's got it. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue these on. So gluing the second ring on, I'm using the unmarked indexes this time. Other than that, it's about the same. Put a little fine layer glue on. Hold it for 5 seconds. Go to the next unmarked index. Glue the next segment on. So I'm going to go ahead, glue all the rest of the segments on and get my air conditioner back on again. I've got 2 rows of open segments on now. Just getting a good start. But with 2 rows of open segments, I'm going to start turning the inside. I'm going to turn the trim ring, turn it into the first row of open segments. Careful not to hit the second row or they'll chip. Glue won't break, but they'll chip. So after I'm turning it, from then on, I'm not going to show anything for a while because it's just cut segments. glue them, sand, turn, cut, glue. Same thing again and again and again. So I'll wait till I'm way out for the next video. Time to start turning the inside. I'm going to turn the trim ring and right into the first row of open segments. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to use a small carbide, very small carbide. Ain't good yet. Still ain't got in that corner. Almost. It's got the corner good. Now to bring the open segments down to that level. That's good right now. All the open segment rings are on now. 11 of them. So now I got to make another dot trim ring. I'm going to make it the same way. Only this time I don't think I'm going to make a small 7-inch one first. I'll just go ahead and make the right side for the first time. After I make a dot trim ring, just like I made the other one, then I got to put a cap ring on it. I'm going to use anglum again. I got some anglum cut. Don't have to be quite as thick as the bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and start making another dot trim ring. I think I'm going to make the middle ring first. First thing I got to do is find some more holly, cut it up into 0.19 thick pieces. I got the dotted up trim rings on the top now. Made them the same way as the bottom. A solid ring, middle ring, segments with spacers between them. Then a top ring, a solid ring. Made them the same size as the bottom. The spacers are 0.190 wide, and all the rings are 0.190 tall. So all the dots are squared. Close enough. Now, only thing I got left, put on the top ring. Angle 'em ring, same as the bottom. Got the ring ready. Put it in the cold jaws and bring it up and glue it on. After the glue dries, I can turn it. I got the inside turned all the way up to the trim rings. So all I got to do is turn the inside here, sand it and spray it on the inside. I didn't sand it as I go because this one's easy enough to get my hand into. Normally though, I would sand it and finish it as I go, especially if it's big, long, can't get down in it. And that's the reason why I turn the inside is before I turn the outside. I turn the inside as I work out because it's easy to get to. Put a couple of rings on, turn it, put a couple on, turn it. It's right there, easy to get to. I'd hate to have to go down inside that now and try and turn it. I ain't saying I couldn't do it, but sure is a lot easier. Do it as I come out. So I'm going to glue this on. I'm going in the house. Because even with both air conditioners on and the fan, it's still hot in here. I've got the top ring on now. Angle 'em. I just grabbed some pieces of angle 'em that I already cut before. So the ring is pretty wide. Actually, it's way too wide. I can cut it down. So I'm going to have to finish turning the inside now. I know. I got a comment one time, somebody says, you're not supposed to turn the inside first, you got to turn the outside first. I looked in the rule book. The rule book actually said, my lathe and my shop, I can turn it any way I want. Now, so I'm going to finish turning the inside, and I'm going to try and put it between center, turn the outside. I don't think my cone's going to fit. My cone ain't going to fit. I'll use this and put it between centers. That'll hold it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish turning the inside, and then I'll turn the outside. After that, I'll sand it. Can't sand it too much because of the different hardnesses of the wood. Then I'll put some finish on. I'll probably spray it, probably with lacquer. It dries fast. Spin it and spray it. That way it won't run. So I'll go ahead and start turning the inside. Now I've got to finish up turning on the inside. Shouldn't take too much. A little bit of a bump in there. That should do it. Well, a little bit of tiny bump right there. Get rid of it. That's good. That's got it. The cone just does fit. I get a picture of that. So the inside's finished turned. I turned the top a little bit because I can't turn too close to the cone or whatever I use to hold it. So it's between centers now. All I gotta do is turn the outside. It's gonna be easy. The outside's turned now. I don't have a video camera where I get a shot of turning the outside. But I used a carbide tool on the outside. I find that's easier. It works pretty good. You gotta turn it fairly smooth. I gotta sand it next. You can't sand it too much. The softer woods will sand away and leave the harder woods proud, give you a washboard effect. So you gotta kind of be easy on the sanding. You can use the light grits all you want, but not the heavy grits. So it's turned on the outside. I get a picture of that, then I'm going to sand it. Sanding it don't take long at all, just a few minutes. I'm going to have to remove the cone and sand the inside. When I get it all sanded, then I'm going to spray it. Like I said, probably spray it with lacquer that dries quick. And if I spray it, as soon as I spray it, I'll get the heck out of the shop. You're not supposed to spray it inside. But I'll spin it and spray it. I won't spin it fast, just slow and spray it. I'll get out and let it dry. Then I'll have to turn it over and do the bottom. So that's where we're at right now. It's sanded now, smooth, really smooth, almost like glass. Only took me about 5 minutes, a small turning. If you've watched any of my sanding videos, you will know if you sand right, it don't take long to go from rough to completely glass smooth. Like I said, it only took about 5 minutes. I know I get a lot of gruff from it, but it's really very easy to sand if done right. So, it's glass smooth now. I got to wipe the dust off. And then I'm going to spray it and get the heck out of the shop and let the spray dissipate before I take it off the faceplate and turn the bottom. So it's ready to be sprayed now. I think, like I said, I'll spray it with lacquer simply because it's fast drying and it don't have a tendency to run. I'll spin it slow, that keeps it from running too. It's got finish on it. I got to take it off the faceplate and turn the bottom. This is one heavy faceplate. Once I get the paper started to tear, it'll come right off. Sometimes getting it started though is a bit hard. Usually it's not much of a problem. Sometimes. Being stubborn today. Wish I knew this one was good. It's starting to go. It's starting to tear. I have to turn it. I have to break it loose a little further. There it goes. Finally. Oh. Once you get it going, it comes off. Now I got to turn the bottom. I'm going to put the top in the coal jaws with the tapered pins. Hold it from the inside. I'm going to put a block on here to hold the bottom. I think I got a big block somewhere. Pretty big block. Yeah, I can put that on it and hold the bottom. Not real hard, just enough to keep it on the coal jaw so it don't pop off. Then I can go ahead and turn the bottom. So I'm going to tape the edge, put it on the coal jaws over these tapered pins and hold it from the inside. And I'm going to turn the bottom. Well, there it is, finished turning. And I did this just to show how to make the dot rings, trim rings. Ain't too much of a turning. I got the bottom turned and I got it signed. I hope you learned something from the video. I appreciate you watching, appreciate those that subscribe. Next thing I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to do a series. I'm going to start and do a video on segments, the mysteries of the segments, the how-tos, whatever, and segment rings. Then I'll do another video on open segments. And I don't know what I'll do from there. I plan on doing a bunch of little videos like that though. So come back and see my next video, and thank you.